wish that you had a magic formula for bringing in really high quality leads and then being able to get them to yes faster? Well, if you are like most entrepreneurs, that's one of the hardest parts. But once you get it figured out, you have the flow that you need to create the exponential wealth and success that we all dream about. Hi, I'm Melanie Benson. I'm known as America's leading small business optimizer. And, my whole focus with this podcast is I want to help you learn the proven strategies that will help you get rid of the overwhelm and the marginal results that you've gotten that just help you squeak by, and help you really be able to automate your success, be able to grow exponentially, and to be able to take time away to do more of the things you love. And that, for me, is what optimizing is all about, figuring out what you need to do better so that you can have the results you want. And my guest this week is what is commonly referred to as the Bruce Lee of sales and lead generation. His name is Erik Luhrs, and Erik is the creator of the Guru's Selling System and Front-Loaded Lead Generation, and he's the author of the book Be, Do, Sale. And I gotta tell you, I've been so impressed with Erik and what I've been learning about him and what he's doing. And we're going to be creating some really fun stuff together. As a matter of fact, I'm hosting a training for him really soon, and I want to help you get it access to it. We'll share that at the end, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of go behind the scenes with Erik and learn a little bit more about what this is all about and why it's been so pivotal for him in being able to help him optimize not only his own business, but optimize the businesses of some of the clients that he serves. So, hey, Erik, so glad to have you with us today.
Thanks, Melanie. I'm happy to be here virtually.
I know, it's almost like I wish we had a way we could create a little like a couch type of thing that we could both sit on virtually. We have to. Can you figure out how to make that happen? I think you could sell that.
Yeah, we could just take our two little heads and put a background, and you could have two heads floating above a couch. Be like, yeah, no.
Yeah, see, I knew you were really innovative and
virtual
creative.
Couch.
Yeah, there's a whole new product line. Not that would be a distraction or anything from your other business. So let's talk about what you do. Maybe give us a little bit of background about how you got into the business of sales and lead generation.
Oh, how'd I get? You got 5 years. The long story. The story starts. Well, I spent 10 years in corporate America. The short version is I spent 10 years in corporate America, worked my way up from the mailroom all the way up to director level. My last job had 120 people reporting to me, multiple sites, and I just burned out of the whole corporate thing. 7 to 7, politics. Have to be friends with this one and enemies with that one. I couldn't handle that anymore. Became a consultant, did well at that, but I traveled so much, never got to enjoy anything. So finally, I ended up staying home, starting a bunch of businesses, and somehow became a business coach. After becoming a business coach, I really wanted to help my clients as best as possible, so I focused on sales and marketing. As you well know, that's how you build businesses. And just as I got more into it, the entire process fascinated me. And studying NLP, I really got into the mindset, the brain, how the brain works and everything else like that. So I've gotten into doing what I do now, partly through stumbling my way to here, and partly just being interested in the subject matter as I went along.
So it wasn't like some really grand vision that I'm going to become the master or the Bruce Lee of sales and lead generation. You just kind of accidentally stumbled into this niche. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I think everybody has a much richer story than, 3 more cents worth of the 5-cent tour is at one point in time I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a screenwriter. I wanted to open my own dojo. I was a real estate investor. I've done all these different things. And by the time that I got here, I had really incorporated a lot of Bruce Lee's in my martial arts. I was a teacher for many years and stuff. So I incorporated a lot of his stuff into how I taught and applied martial arts. And then by the time I got into sales and marketing, and started taking all the stuff I was studying people at a conscious level and a subconscious level, put all these things together, I was applying it even though I wasn't thinking about it. I was applying Bruce Lee's technology, and it was really one of my clients who called me out on it. And one day I was on the phone coaching him and stuff like that, and I was saying all these things about Bruce Lee, and finally he just said, if I think about it, you're like the Bruce Lee of sales. And I was like, huh, that's pretty cool. And then I'm the one who added on the lead generation because that's become my new focus area. So I took part from what one of my clients threw at me as like, that's real feedback, and the other part, my own piece. And so it's kind of part by accident and part by conscious choice, which I think at the end of the day is probably one of the, at least for me, it's been one of the best ways to live my life. Actually, it's been the only way. So hopefully that's how most people do it as well.
Yeah. I think every business, if they're doing a good job of sales and lead generation, they know what problem they solve for people. What do you think is the biggest problem you're solving for the people that work with you and take your programs?
Well, as I said, my main focus right now is lead generation, and there's tons of companies out there that do it. You can find anybody who says, I've got a phone bank of young people sitting somewhere waiting to make phone calls for you, or we'll send out 1 million tweets a month for you or something like that. And that's all well, fine and good. However, I find that a lot of it is inefficient. A lot of it is what really got to me was the messaging. The messaging just seemed very generic and people just seem to think lead generation is a numbers game. And I just, like, after a while I said, it's really, and being and studying NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, the wording becomes very important to you. So I went and I started studying what happens to people at a subconscious level when a lead generation message of any kind comes on. And the other thing is, a lot of people don't even know your blogs, your videos, sales letters. I mean, so many things are actually lead generation messages. It's not just a Burger King commercial, that's blatantly like, come buy this burger. I mean, there's lots of things that are lead generation messages. And for me, it really I just read these, I would just read these stuff, and it would annoy me because I'd be like, this message doesn't say anything, and they spent money sending it to my mailbox, and So I really wanted to find out what would make these messages work better, because it's not just, you can go broke trying to send out the same message 1 million times because the whole 7 touches thing. So I said, it's an XY axis. It's not just how many times you get this message, but what's the effect of that message? And that's why I went and studied subconscious, how people are affected subconsciously. So right now, because I think constantly we're always evolving how we're effective for people. Right now, my main effectiveness for my clients is, what are your messages doing at a subconscious level, and how do you create the subconscious response that you're looking for with your message?
Do you think it's possible, and knowing NLP the way I do, I think I know what you're going to say, but do you think it's possible that some entrepreneurs unwittingly are turning off their most ideal clients by the language they're using?
Well, yeah, I would say most, because what happens is most people don't think in a lead generation way. They think in a, what do I want to say kind of way. I want to tell you that I sell dog biscuits. Okay, I want to tell you that I sell jet engines. I want to tell you that my jet engines are the fastest jet engines, and my dog biscuits are the best quality biscuits. And all of these terms, best, fastest, best quality, cheapest, most expensive, all these terms, as soon, and again, knowing NLP, as soon as you say those words, you send that person into trance, and their brain, their subconscious, just takes those terms and says, this is the same stuff that everybody else who does this says. Everybody's got the best car, and the #1 car in America. Really? The #1 dog biscuit in America, the #1 jet engine in America. Everybody's got the #1, the best of this. And their brain, the subconscious, automatically takes that and says, okay, if you're claiming the exact same thing as everybody else, you are everybody else. So all these very, very good people at what they sell and what they produce and everything, they're without knowing it, they're actually asking for their prospects to compare them to the competition. And that's what automatically makes it makes the buying cycle longer. It's how they end up in in these painful price negotiations. Why? Because this guy will give me the same thing for. As soon as they say that, you're dead because you've already said I'm the same as them. So yeah, most people are actually asking for problems with their lead generation.
Ah, I'm so glad you're talking about this because I've actually never heard anybody put it quite like this, but it explains so many reasons why people get stuck in the obstacles before the conversation for the sale ever occurs. It's literally like we're teaching our prospects to compare us in a group of apples when we really are an orange, and we're all of a sudden we're caught up in that mess. So I know we're not going to get into a whole big lesson here on your guru sales techniques, but I'm wondering if you could share, maybe something really simple that someone could start to do right away to, start to use better language or better messaging in their emails and their sales and marketing materials.
Well, one of the simplest things is to ask, just ask a very simple question. So like when we go do research, we'll say to people, like what's your biggest problem? So like in the sales industry, if you go to a sales manager, you say, what's your biggest problem? They're always going to say, I need more sales, right? So the sales trainer or something like that, if that's their business, they go, great, and they put together their more sales program. If you simply ask the person, though, you do some research and you simply ask the person, what causes that? What's causing the lack of sales? Automatically, and again, NLP, everything I do is kind of, if you really break down it's NLP, it's chunking. It's like, what's causing that to happen? As soon as they get down one level below the generic, I don't have enough sales, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough leads, and whatever, you get down into, you can start having a deeper conversation and really learning what people's real problems are, what the real cause is. Because people, at the end of the day, people don't want information. People want I want you to solve my problem right now. I always say, though, people's biggest problem is they don't know what their biggest problem is. So when you ask them, what's your biggest problem? They hit you with this generalized stuff because they go, well, I don't have enough sales. So you, as a business person, you want to sell more of anything. Whoever your target market is, as soon as they say, here's my biggest problem, what's causing that? And that will get you into a much deeper conversation.
So what I'm hearing you say is you need to ask more effective questions in this process to get better answers so you can really get to solving the right problems instead of trying to, meet people where they think they are, which is just going to spin you around and around. I like that. That's, I think that makes a lot of sense, and it starts to make me think, okay, where am I doing that? So, I've already gone into self-analysis here, Eric.
I didn't mean to do that to you.
That's okay.
You're doing great.
I'm always doing that. I guess that's the curse of being a coach. You're always thinking, like, how can I make it better? What can I do to just refine my game ever so slightly, right? So, speaking of refining our game, I love what you're doing, and we'll talk more about this, but I'd kind of like to pull the curtains back a little bit and, get to know Erik a little bit more. I don't know how long you've been an entrepreneur, but I'm assuming, like most of us, you've had your fair share of challenges that were growth opportunities along the way. What would you say has been one of your biggest challenges as an entrepreneur?
My biggest challenge as an entrepreneur was business itself. I grew up, I grew up a dreamer. You know what I mean? My plan when I was graduating college, and this is true. When I graduated college, I already told people by 25 I'm going to be a movie star. I'm going to be making $10 million a picture. I'll be married with a kid. I was coming out of college telling people it's like, so I had all these dreams and visions of things that I was going to do, and it's not Erik saying, pee all over your dreams. You should definitely keep your dreams. But I never wanted to do business. For me, I grew up and my father was a businessman, so and he was never home, and he just always seemed kind of unhappy. So I was like, I don't want to be a businessman because they're always unhappy and they're never
Yeah.
home. And
So
so,
you meshed that vision of being a business owner with being unhappy and never being home, and it was
exactly.
forever like fused in your mind.
Right.
Okay,
So I
that's
was going to
very
be a
common,
movie
by the
star.
way.
Yeah, I was going to be a movie star. I was going to make it easy on myself, right? So when I finally, and I took my very circuitous route to having my own business. Um, but by the time I decided, okay, I have to start a business, I was clueless. I was absolutely like I had never taken any in college. I had never taken any business courses. No, I apologize. I took. They forced us to take accounting, which for me was the most painful C minus I've ever gotten in my entire life, and forgot everything the day after it was over. So my biggest problem with being an entrepreneur was literally the basics of running a business. Not even how do you build a business. It was like how do you build a business? How do you start a business? How do you build it? How do you maintain it? So yeah, my biggest problem was with entrepreneurialism was entrepreneurialism itself.
Yeah, so interesting because people get into business for one of two reasons. They either have a passion for a craft or something they've learned to do, or they get into it to purely make money. And
Hmm.
very few people I know get into it loving running a business. So it's almost like you have to learn how to find your way through it and create the systems and the strategies or get the help that you need so that you can spend more time doing the things you love.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, what would you say was a key learning, something that was that game changing or that aha moment that helped you get on the right path for yourself?
Well, God, there was a lot of kicks in the booty that helped me along. From a very simple standpoint, from running a business, I availed myself of different courses and stuff like that, and so I was able to figure out how to put a business together. In terms of building a business and sales and marketing again being the key, how do you get more clients and everything else like that? Um, Believe it or not, one of the probably the biggest learning I got was being totally screwed. I explain it like this. There was a point in time when nothing was going right for me business-wise, getting clients or anything else like that. And I hit, rock bottom. And I just said, look, things cannot get any worse. And I started, all of a sudden, it was like, well, if I'm going to start, and I was kind of, this is like sort of in the starting my coaching business and being into it and moving into new clients. I was kind of in this amorphous period. I can't even explain exactly how it was. It was just this sort of weird period. Um, but I got to this point where I said, I can't go any further down. Things can't get any worse. So if I'm going to try and get clients, I don't even care anymore, and I'm going to start asking for more money. And it was weird. As soon as I stopped caring, all of a sudden, like people were like, "Okay, I'll work with you," and I'm like, "But I don't even care." You know what I mean? And it was like the weirdest thing. I realized the more you chase, and from a technical standpoint, what was happening, what I later realized was, the more you chase, the more desperate, and the more you chase, all of a sudden, it's like, 93% of communication is nonverbal. People can smell desperation. They can feel need. And people don't like that feeling. They like the feeling, it's all, when you're not able to be attained, when they can't get you, when you're sitting there, you're like, I really just don't care. All of a sudden, they're like, here's more money. And it was, so I think that was one of the key lessons was like, the less you care, probably the more you'll make.
It's almost like the law of unattachment
Mhm.
because you don't need it, so you don't feel well. You do need it, but you stop being so attached and coming across desperate. It's
Mhm.
almost like people smell that. It's like
Yep.
they feel this like claw coming out, like trying to hook into them, and it just recreates this very unconscious resistance for people. I went through a period when a couple different times. One in the beginning when I was trying to sort out how does this all work, but then when I went through my financial meltdown, and I remember thinking like all of a sudden nobody has any money. Everybody's talking about how broke they are, and I was watching people have a conversation with me telling me they couldn't afford my what I had reduced my rates to be very low, and they're turning around and spending $10,000 on a mentor, and I'm like, okay, something's got to change here because it's me, not them. And it's almost like you have to change the game you're playing in your head to move through that.
Hmm. Definitely.
So you had this, kind of unattachment that got you through it. Is there anything else that you found came after that that helped you really keep consistently moving your business forward from that place?
God, tons of stuff. I think once you, well, see the thing that happens after, or happened at least for me with the unattachment piece was the you have to personalize and internalize your own value. And this is something that's very hard. And again, I've dealt a lot with salespeople. They're really they really come in two ilks. Either they're over full of themselves or they have zero self-confidence. And really, when for me, it was like when I stopped being attached, all of a sudden, my confidence in myself, there was nothing to be not confident about because I didn't care anymore. So all of a sudden, my confidence, as it were, rose. And as soon as that self-confidence rose, all of a sudden, who I could talk to, what I could say, what I could ask for, what I could perceive myself being, my capabilities too. I was very pigeonholed initially into what I thought I could help people do. And and then I realized I could do a lot more things for people. That didn't mean that I ran out there and started saying I could do this and that and that and that, because the puppy syndrome is not good either. I can chase that ball and that stick, and
Right.
that's not good either. And you kind of come full circle back and kind of focus in on something. But when you come to that understanding that I have this huge breadth and width of skills that I can help people with, and I bring all that force to bear on one point, all of a sudden you become far more powerful. Because you yourself, you work on business optimization, but underneath it all, you have tons more skills. I mean, you could pretty much run any part of a business because you have that much experience, but you focus on the business optimization. So I think it's that, I think that one of the other things that I've learned is that, you have to own your own value, and then that brings you to a point of power, and then that power allows you to focus. And it's just that people, again, they understand that power, they feel that power, and that is far more persuasive. I mean, I talk about the subconscious mind. Energy is far more persuasive than words. Your personal energy is far more persuasive than anything you can possibly. I can give somebody the perfect words to say, but if they don't have the energy to back it up, it's like, it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, I want to dig into this a little bit more, this idea of value, because Eric, there are so many people that I've worked with, and this is the thing we spend the most time on, is really sorting out their value proposition and helping them get behind it. And, things crop up like the imposter syndrome, where you feel like, well, I can say I do this, but, if there's doubts, then you start feeling like, well, I'm an imposter, and then that really affects your confidence. And what do you think worked for you to really hone in and focus on your value?
You mean my value to a
Hmm.
client?
Yeah, like finding that you said you've got to really own your value. What was it that helped you find what your most valuable assets were to a client?
For me, the fastest way to find how you're valuable to a client is to shut up that little voice in your head,
Click.
um, and exactly, and to actually listen to the client. Um, and the same thing that goes for before, when I was saying you have to have deeper conversations, the same thing again when you're working with clients. And you can be selling products, you could be selling services, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's about finding out what's most important for them, and bringing that to life. So I'm a huge fan of Wayne Dyer. Actually named my
Hmm.
son after him. And he always talks about living your life from a position of service. So when you come from that place of service, and you help a little bit with this and a little bit with that, and all of a sudden you understand how much genius is within you and what you can really do. All of a sudden, finding your self-worth becomes it just flows naturally, and finding how you can help people just flows naturally, because ultimately there's lots of things we can do, but there's the stuff that we enjoy. There's the stuff that energetically or focus wise we keep bringing ourselves back to, like I can do all these things, but I kind of really have fun with this stuff. And that really comes again from how many times have I listened to a client and helped them with this and it was fun, and I helped another client with this and it was fun. It was like, oh, that might be a clue, I mean, to what I should be doing. So really, I think coming from that place of service, that will give you the answers about how you're really valuable to people.
That's great advice. That's one of my favorite things to do is to help people find that sweet spot for themselves. And, everybody has a different way in.
Hmm.
So it's fun to hear how other people are doing it and what's really working for you and how did you find it? Because if someone's stuck there right now and they can do a lot of different things, finding that thing that you're meant to optimize can feel kind of daunting. And, I have so many people who's like, well, I don't know what I do well. I do a lot of things good. I don't know which one should I focus on. And so that's great advice. Thank you.
Sure.
So I'm a person that I find mantras and quotes and little snippets of advice that I run through my head all the time, especially when I'm having, struggles or maybe there's something I'm trying to change inside myself. Has there been something that was really powerful for you along the way that stuck out and you maybe use that as your own personal guidance system when you are having a bad day or you need to get fired up?
Um, well, I mean, there's tons of great quotes out there. Again, being a huge Bruce Lee fan, I pull a lot from him. The quote that I think I've tried to live by, especially after I finally understood what it really meant, was he had a statement where he said, um, using no way as way, having no limitation as limitation. Now, from a martial arts point of view, his whole thing was he didn't like how like a karate system or something would say you have to do this move and then follow with that move and then follow it with that move and everything, and he said that's what makes fights take too long, is because people are trying to do these choreographed moves that they've learned over and over and over again. And so he wanted to so every system for him was a way, and he said, I don't want to have any way as my way. I want to just flow naturally. Whatever comes, comes. So using no way as way was how he lived, and then having no limitation as limitation. You know, don't prejudge how you can help somebody. Don't prejudge whether or not a fight is going to go your way or another way. If a sale is going to go your way or another way. If this relationship is going to go your way or another way. Have no limitation on what you can create or what's going to happen. And so what he was really talking about was being in flow, like a real, really getting in touch with yourself, with the universe, just being in flow. And again, I know from a business guy, talking about the universe and flow and stuff like that, I might sound like I'm getting up on my spiritual high horse here, and yet this is all part. We're holistic beings. We've got our business side, we've got our personal side, we've got our mind, we've got our body, we've got our spirit and stuff like that. So we have to utilize all these pieces, and we should never cut any of these pieces off. So when you really are fully integrated into yourself, all of a sudden you can get to a point where you say, using no way as way, having no limitation as limitation.
I love that. I've never heard that one before.
Hmm.
And I think everybody, whenever you're in your limitation, you're on the edge of having a breakthrough if you're open to it. You're on the edge of your next evolution and shift if you do not stop at the edge of that limitation.
Hmm.
I think that can be a very powerful mantra for many of us to use. I'm writing that down, Eric. It's on my list now.
Do it. Use it. Bruce is the man.
Bruce
Bruce
is
is
the
the man.
man. I love it.
Bruce is the man.
I never really got into karate, but I sure love the psychology of it, and I find it to be it fits very well inside my personal doctrine. So it's great to pull those little nuggets out. So Eric, what's next for you? What are you excited about?
Oh God. It's just everything. I'm really excited about just everything that's happening right now. The lead generation, the front loaded lead generation, which again is something that it's constantly evolving. Just more and more people are interested in it. So for me, it's like, okay, how do I get this to more and more people? Again, I'm putting myself in that space of service. Like, how do I help more and more and more people with it? So I'm really excited to just about, and I'm getting phone calls from people who, out of the blue, from Fortune 500 companies are like, I saw this, I read that, and, I want to learn more about it. And it's like, So I'm just excited about being overexposed and not even knowing I was. You know what I mean?
It's
So
almost like that
it's awesome.
contagious piece is it's catching fire now, and what's working is getting bigger, and you don't have to personally move it forward on your own anymore. And I think actually that's one of the secrets behind optimization is when you do the right things and they start catching on and people are coming to you without you having to reach out, it's working. Well,
Yeah.
I'm really excited about one of your next steps, which is we're going to be doing a online training together, what we might even say a mini workshop on your guru selling process. Maybe you could share with people a little bit about what we're going to be covering in that and what they're going to learn so that they can, come join us.
Well, it's called the 3 steps to get prospects to contact you ready to say yes. And what we're mainly going to be going over is we're going to be talking about the 3 C's of an effective lead generation message. And I'm not going to go into them now because you got to have a little mystery there. But we're going to be breaking down the messages. We're going to be showing you why people don't care to hear about what you do or what you sell, about how you can tweak your message to get more people contacting you right now. There's a lot of great little nuggets, ahas. You're gonna get a. We were talking about, you were saying before about pulling back the curtain. I'm going to pull back the curtain a bit and start showing people how the subconscious responds to messages. And a lot of people, I've done this several times before, and a lot of people say after the webinar, they're like, I literally didn't know words were like doing that kind of thing to my prospects. I didn't realize what my messages were, how my messages were actually backfiring or actually sending more business to my competitors and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool, and I think we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, I can't wait because as a coach and having coached so many different coaches and different types of experts who do consulting and trainings, one of the things I see the biggest snafus around is the messaging. Like they're literally like cutting off their sales by the way they're messaging. Either they don't understand that they need better messaging, or the messaging they're using is just like killing it before it even gets started. So, I'm really looking forward to going through the webinar with you because I know I'm going to pick up a lot, and I'm like a little sponge when it comes to stuff, but I'm really excited to share it with people and have them join us. So if you go to guruselling.com/3 steps, or you can just follow the link right here in the screen there. This is where you can register for the training. We'll be doing it live, and then it'll be also available for you to watch afterwards as well. If for some reason you missed the live version of it. So I'm excited to do this, and I can't wait to get into it. And I've actually been trained in neurolinguistic programming, and being able to really learn how we can influence and engage people to take action when it's good for them, which is what you're doing here. Is you're helping people help more people by getting the resistances out of the way and getting people to make a decision: is this for me or not for me, and get to a yes faster when it is right for them.
Yeah, as that's it. My whole hope with this whole system at the end of the day is, I look at the world right now, and we're at a tipping point. We can either fall backwards, because if you look at the business world right now, finances and everything else like that, there's enough money out there for everybody. There's enough opportunity out there for everybody. The biggest issue is people are unable to connect with the right people, products, services to help them do what they want to do. So I think my piece is to help people with that messaging piece. If we can get enough people saying the right things to the other right people, everybody's going to have work, and money's going to be no problem, and I think the world economy will rebound. So I think that's just a small dream that I have.
I love your small dreams, Eric, that have such a big impact on the world. And I know you probably would have been a very talented actor, but I'm so glad you chose this path, and life caught you where you are today, because I know this is such an important thing for people to learn about, and I can't think of a better person to teach it to the world. So thanks for doing it, and I can't wait, and I hope you'll join us. guruselling.com/3 steps. And I'd like to hear, like, what's something that really kind of was an aha for you today? If you're following along on the blog here, just pop it into the comments, do a quick shout out, tell Eric and I what was kind of an inspirational moment, something that you learned, an aha. I find that one of the most important ways that we anchor the things that we learn is writing them down and sharing them with other people. So I'd love to hear it in the comments. And if you're on iTunes or somewhere else where we don't have comments, you can pop over to melaniebensonstrick.com and go over to the blog and share with us there. So Erik, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm loving every moment of it. Can't wait to get more in depth with your wisdom and learn all the little secret ninja things that you've learned about messaging. Bruce Lee and ninja, they're friends, so there's got to be some correlations there, right?
That's exactly it.
All right, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.